I'm NichBoy and welcome to Pocket for Tuesday, the 26th of July. Today on the show, No Man's Sky, No Man Hands, and No Man Allowed Inside. It's very clever what we did there. You'll appreciate it by the end of the episode. All right, here's what's been making headlines. And first up, we gotta talk about No Man's Sky. And not just because we've made, like a whole riff on it at the beginning of the episode. Now, do you want the good news or the bad news first? I'll give you the good. Didn't even wait for an answer. Game Informer are reporting that PlayStation owners won't need to cough up for PS Plus to have access to the game's online features. Their Sony source confirmed PS Plus won't be a requirement to play online. However, you will need to be connected to the internet for your discoveries to register with the Universal Atlas. So PlayStation owners won't need to pay to connect with others, but it's probably still going to be difficult. While the game is theoretically an MMO, the procedurally generated universe is so big that the chances of running into another human-controlled player are minuscule, small enough that Steam is listing the game as a single-player experience. All right, now time for the bad news. Remember a couple of weeks ago when they announced the game had gone gold and everyone was rejoicing? It's like, it's coming, yeah! Well, sit down, PC players! Stop that rejoicing. Just lower your backsides into your sad little office chairs with your little gel sort of like palm pads in front of your keyboards and whittle away the time on Reddit playing Minesweeper, whatever you're doing on those things, because you got 3 days to kill. According to the official About page, the Windows release of the game has been bumped back to the 12th of August. The PC version was going to launch alongside the PS4's August 9th release in North America. Let's hope game designer Sean Murray doesn't get death threats this time. Pull it together, internet. Just this once. Pick up those little gel pads, squeeze them out, take your tension out that way. All right, now on to Nintendo stocks, which are going down. Down. Nintendo stocks are down. It's not copyright, because it's already ripping off another song. After soaring high on the Pokemon Go plane for the last few weeks, Nintendo stock is crashing back down. Between the 6th of July, when the app launched, and the 19th of July, Nintendo stock more than doubled, leaping from 14,000 yen per share to over 31,000 yen per share. Investors were hungry for a seat on the poker gravy train and started throwing money at Nintendo. What they didn't realize was Nintendo's ownership of the app is rather small, as they only own 1/3 of the Pokemon IP. Most of the game's revenue is being divvied up amongst the other IP owners, developer Niantic, and the Google and Apple stores. When Nintendo announced that, quote, because of this accounting scheme, the income reflected on the company's consolidated business results is limited, flighty investors hopped in their automobiles and got the hell out of there. As a result, Nintendo shares now back down to 23,000 yen per share. Pete had originally written down a joke here about planes, trains, and automobiles and John Candy. You wouldn't have got it. Moving on now, and a trademark has been filed in Europe for one Lady Layton. Development studio Level 5 teased in June that they were developing a new entry to the series. At the time, CEO Akihiro Hino hinted that the professor would be taking a back seat in this game and that would potentially see a new main character. Japanese magazine Famitsu showed off sketches of a suited up female character, but with no context, it was impossible to draw conclusions. Well, I'm gonna draw some conclusions. That's Lady Layton. What a bold prediction I just made. All right, now it's time for Thing of the Day. Thing of the Day, and since we've had so many great entries from Will, the Doctor of Who, I thought I'd bring him in to make us a special one now. So Will, please, take it away.
I wonder what it's like on the Pocket set.
Thing of the Day.
Maybe it's best I not find out.
Because of an injury to his arms, Speaky Cleaners is using voice recognition software for his latest run-through of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It's going quite well.
See down. See down. Go up. Kill them. Kill them. Stop it. Yeah! That was so much easier. Oh, we did it. That was less dramatic, but that was a lot easier.
Thing of the Day.
Maybe it's best I not find out.
I'm joined now by Hex to talk about the ending of Inside. Hello.
Hello, Nick.
Hello, Hex. Now, we're going to be diving deep on the ending of the game. Massive spoilers for everything. So if you haven't played it, go on and get out here, boy.
It's not long.
or
You
gal.
can do it. You could probably just pause the video, go play it now,
You totally could.
then come back,
It took me 4 hours to play on a live stream.
be part of the discussion.
A lot of that was just crap chatting. You could probably get through it in like 2.5.
Your life is crap chatting.
Wow. I invite you into this room, you stab me in the back. Now, the reason we're talking about this is because Nanto wrote in with a talk-through topic, and they just said office musings on the ending of Inside. Now, I believe you were the first person in the office to finish the game.
I was, yes.
And I remember you sending messages and yelling in the office, and like, can someone please talk to me as soon as they finish this game?
Rocking in a small ball back and forth.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Or a big ball, depending on if you finish the game or not.
Mm.
Because the ending of the game plays a blob.
Yeah.
What do you think the ending means?
I mean, I think I think it largely depends on what you think, you know, the mechanics of this world were. Because at first, my interpretation of it was some strange futuristic society where they were kind of zombifying people and turning them into human slaves.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got the sense that these weren't real people at all. They were kind of some strange experimented,
Husks.
kind of like creations of human automatons or something like that. So if that's the case, it was an act of rebellion in which the automatons sort of come together and break free and become one.
Yep.
So that they can live life, you know, in
Yeah.
the sun,
So thematically.
free from oppression.
Yeah, well, not that. I mean, oppression is sort of literally about 60 meters just behind them.
Yeah.
But they are in the sun, near a lake.
The thing that messes me up, though, is the boy seemed like human.
Yeah.
And he gets sucked into the blob.
Yeah.
This is a child.
A child.
A child who's been through a lot. You know, who knows before the game starts, but
How many other blobs has this kid been in?
throughout the course of this game, he goes through a lot. Finally escapes, gets sucked into a blob, lives out the rest of his life in blob form with a bunch of other arms and legs and who knows what.
So here's the deal, right? So thematically, I agree with you that there's this whole oppression thing going on.
Yeah.
That you look at all the husks, like the sort of people that you control when you put on the helmet and you run, or you're collecting 19 of them or whatever to sit on that plate to open a door.
That was fun.
That was great. They're all blue collar workers. They're all wearing overalls and like workers'
Some of them had
hats and
little
that sort of thing.
hats,
Yeah.
yeah.
And everyone who isn't the boy who has like control of their own function. They are suited
Scientists
people.
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's that quite obvious metaphor of the working class and the elite. And then the only person that you really kill in the game seems to be like the manager guy. You burst into his office as the blob.
Yeah.
And then you push him out the window with you, and then you land on him, and then your legs are covered in blood. And the splat. Yeah, and that's the only person that really dies in the game besides you.
Yeah.
Like, you've killed the man.
And I couldn't figure out entirely whether the other scientists who end up kind of leading you towards the exit
Yep.
are doing that because they're like, hey, maybe this blob guy deserves a break and we should just help him escape. Or if they're like, the experiment continues!
Yes, I mean, I believe it's totally the experiment continues because you move past an area where there is a diorama of trees and the lake and like the sun patch that you land in.
Oh, yeah.
So you move past this space where it's like they know that thing is there. It's almost like they go, that's where you need to ultimately end up. So I feel like they are shepherding you. With the blob thing and the kid, the prevailing theory, because there's a secret ending to this game, right?
Yeah,
You've seen the secret ending?
I have.
The secret ending of the game, if you haven't seen it, is you collect all these orbs, you find this secret space.
You have a switch.
And there's a switch and a plug and things. And the kid sort of yanks this plug and a computer short circuits. And then the kid goes and like powers down. That's actually saying that the kid has been controlled.
I guess I didn't really think of it as powering down. I thought he kind of just...
He kind of rolls over,
Yeah.
but then he doesn't get back up. And people are interpreting that as like in the way that he had his head down and stuff.
Yeah, the
that
way the other things collapse.
Because as soon as you remove that helmet, they just go like that. And so that's what he does. That he has been controlled the entire time. And when you see the blob has has 4 helmets that are the mind control helmets are attached to the blob in the tank. And the blob is controlling the kid throughout the
To free
whole
the blob.
game to free the blob. The kid is part of the blob, and it needs to come back to like main blob. And that's why the kid suddenly gets sucked in, and he's taken the whole way there. The whole game.
So, are you operating under the theory that the kid was once part of blob formation and was freed from the blob and wants to go home to blob life.
Possibly, or Blob sees opportunity for more Blob and goes, I need at least one more set of legs.
Either way, it's dark, isn't it?
Oh, it's super
because I
dark.
mean, usually when there's a game that has a secret ending, I'm like, well, this is the better happy ending because I got the shitty ending where like everybody gets sucked into a blob and lives out their life in blob form. And that to me, like that kind of amalgamation of flesh is something like some messed up horror film that I just can't even watch the trailers
very
of.
like David Cronenberg sort of,
Ugh, I just nightmares. So that was very distressing for me, and I was hoping that was like when I heard there was a secret ending, I was so excited because I was like, at least I'll get some kind of closure or respite from this, like. But I didn't when I saw that.
See, I think it's really interesting with that secret ending because I agree that this sheds a little more light. But yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, this is the different way it could have gone.
Yeah.
This is you not being part of the mass blob society. This is the kid finding like a ladder and he's suddenly in No Man's Sky world or something. But it's interesting to me that the secret ending actually feels like it almost should have been part of the real ending, because I think that lots of people were really confused by the end of the game. I know when I finished it, I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone from inside to outside very clearly, and that we've kind of escaped, and for me, I interpret it as like, this blob thing got a moment of sunshine to rest itself. But the secret ending actually sheds, if this interpretation is true, sheds a bunch of light on it. And I wonder whether or not you should be hiding the story of your game in a secret ending, or if you should be putting that like in the main ending.
Well, someone I spoke to mentioned that the developers of this game didn't even really know where they were going with the kind of larger concept and story, because they were working off a tech demo and had this cool idea, you know, for this blob thing, and were like, let's build a game around that. And you know, in like Lost, for example, where they just keep kind of making episodes and they're like, yeah, we'll figure out the ending later.
We just wanted to get to the end of season 1.
Yeah. So I think maybe they kind of got the blob to the outside and is no longer inside. Although the boy is inside the blob.
So is he really outside? Maybe just his feet?
Is he even outside? And then they kind of created the secret ending after they'd kind of really nutted out maybe a deeper meaning for the game, but it still doesn't entirely answer everyone's questions. Or maybe they didn't even intend that and you've just derived
possibly
a really fantastic theory.
Yeah.
And the developers are like, yes,
that's
exactly
the one.
it.
So here's my final question then. If that is the case, and they didn't know the ending, or even if it's not the case and they do know the ending, but it's kind of like, it's so obscure that you really need to like dive deep into the world building, do you think it's important to have an ending that makes sense? Or are you looking at the game more like a piece of art that it made you feel things and therefore that is the important thing? Like you had an experience rather than necessarily it told you a narrative?
In this particular instance, I did not care at all that I had kind of no grasp of what the ending meant when I initially finished it, because I felt so much throughout the experience. And there were kind of clear themes that really stood out, and so I had a sense of what the game was trying to communicate, even if the ending itself wasn't super clear. And that to me was enough. And that was enough for me to start telling everyone else to play it. Okay. Not just because I wanted to hear their thoughts on the ending, but just because it was an experience that I found profoundly affecting and disturbing, and was making me feel things that other games hadn't. And I think that was ultimately what I got out of it that was so great. Yeah. I think we look for resolution because we crave it and we desire it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we need it.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point, because there is this element of a lot of people have moved to talk about the ending of this game, and that for 95% of the game, I was adoring the game with no context of like ending or story or whatever. It was mood, it was mechanic, it was just the feelings that I had for this child. And I feel like in some ways that has now kind of been overshadowed by what does the story mean. Yeah. As opposed to like, think about the feelings you had throughout that entire thing, that they're more important to me than necessarily a plot twist.
It's so true. And the reality is, when you're dealing with something that, you know, is taking a more artistic approach, if the ending had been cut and dry, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. And I think the whole point of creating something that is a little bit more ambiguous is to generate discussion and to have people, you know, interpret their own meaning from the piece of work.
Is that your fancy, like, I understand art face.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. That was good face. Regardless, fantastic game, I think we can agree.
Yes, definitely play it if you haven't. It's not long.
Yeah, and if you haven't played it, but you're listening to this now, like we told you this 10 minutes ago. We told you to go play it. It would take you like 2.5 hours of your life. Or...
Erase this from your brain.
Yeah. And if you have played the game, please let us know what you think about the story, the ending, what moments were really affecting for you. Just, we want to hear your opinions on the game as well. And while you're on the internet, check out Good Game on Facebook, YouTube, and iView. Want to meet fellow Pocketeers? Then join the Pocketeers Facebook group and scene group. You can follow Good Game on Twitter at Good Game TV. Follow Pocket at NichBoy, Pierre at Judy at Monkey Nat. Samkey. She's at HexDev, and there are links to everything I just said in the description below. Today's Thing of the Day graphic was made by Daniel McCormack. If you've made a thing, please send it in. Nothing to do with sending things in. Watching things on television. 8:30 p.m. ABC2. Good Game. What's on tonight?
We have Monster Hunter Generations and also Necropolis, which has kind of got a bit of a Dark Souls vibe. So naturally, I loved it.
And I believe Goose also heads to Gympie.
Yes.
Yeah, to a school up there to talk to Ken Brady, who's introducing a gaming curriculum. Curriculum?
The word you're looking for is curriculum.
He's introducing a gaming course to a school up in Gympie. Shop our very own Peter Burns. Peter Burns, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that is it for today's episode of Pocket by Pocketeers. Until tomorrow, Nick, bye out. Mwah.
Hex out. Mwah.